Oh, that's great. I have a cross-dressing friend who likes to play Destiny.
All right.
He's a drag queen.
Sure.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, nice.
That was wonderful. I love this.
God damn it.
Oh, that was great. Okay. All right. Welcome to Now You Know Destiny, your one-step lore pod showcast. We have been away for a while, I do admit. We were gone for a month, Christmas break, and then, I kind of, forgot about it. But anyways, that and our schedules haven't quite filled up. I started college up again. Angel's been singing more. Hip is moving to a new house. But we will try our best to continue this as a bi-weekly or tri-weekly show. So hang in there while we do it.
Yes,
we
sir.
hope you will continue to follow the exploits of this little quasi-group here. And I am always your warlock, VulshokBersrker. And we have our friendly hunter.
LostAngelofHavik.
And we have a new addition to the team. Hip may be gone for a while, but hopefully we can get him to appear every once in a while. Life is hectic, we never know. But today on the third seat, we have...
For now, I just go by Frog on Discord, and we'll see if anything else comes out of it.
I mean, it's not a bad name. Very simple.
I like
Sticky.
it.
Colorful, if you will. As long as you're in a rainforest.
Oh, yeah. Just don't touch the colored ones.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a bad idea.
That's a bad
idea. Oh, yeah. Okay. We will begin this episode where we left off in episode 4. The beginning of Warmind, which, in concept, I loved.
Oh, yeah.
I will not talk about the execution.
Oh.
That is for another time. But let's continue. The DLC begins with Zavala talking about how he believed that this would be the start of a new golden age for humanity. And as many times as we will soon learn, Zavala is not always right. Because thanks to the Traveler Awakening, we have a new event happening on Mars. The ice caps in the Hellas Basin begin to melt. And unknown to everyone else, there was a secret hive faction hidden in the ice. Frog, would you like to continue?
Yeah, sure. So that faction is the Grasps of Nokris. Now I'm sitting here and I'm trying to remember who Nokris was before because I've heard the name.
Nokris was the excommunicated son of Oryx.
That's right.
He was the son that loved the books. Sora.
If Crota was
Crota
a jock, Nokris was a bookworm.
Appreciate
Pun
you
intended.
didn't just come out and say nerd too. That would have been a bit mean. Although,
I mean, we all are here, but you can see what I do every day. I am a whole nerd.
oh, I'm not
man.
allowed to talk either. Don't worry.
I don't really think nerd is a dirty word considering what we're doing right now.
But yeah, Nokris was the excommunicated son of Oryx. He committed what was considered a hive taboo of messing with things that are dead. Now, killing and coming back is fine for the hive. But once you mess with something that has a final death, that's when they get all uppity.
I was gonna say it's okay. It's okay. Necromancy's okay as long as it's on yourself, is what I'm hearing.
It's like if you die, you can come back, but if you die, nah, fam.
Though there was one exception to that.
There's a couple exceptions to that.
There's one exception to that in the Books of Sorrow.
Okay, fair.
All right.
Just had to go Hive Bible on me.
Yeah, it was when Oryx defined his sisters, bringing them back from a true death, which we will get into at another time because I love those books.
They are.
Seth Dickinson does a great job. But back to Warmind.
The
ice caps are melting.
Ice caps melting. The Grasps of Nokris appear, and We, on our way to investigate this, receive a transmission from Anna Bray, and we have to fight through the grasp of Nokris to meet Anna. From there, we begin investigating this Clovis Bray facility, and that is when we learn that Mars and this Clovis Bray facility, known as the Futurescape, is home to Rasputin, the Warmind.
Which many people believed to be a retcon because we had interacted with Rasputin back in the Cosmodrome in Destiny 1.
Correct.
The way they explained this is that after the collapse, Rasputin was fragmented, and this fragment, because his network was shattered, this fragment was the one at the Cosmodrome, which was responsible for Iron Lords being demolished, killing a few Guardians by blowing them up when they went into his little bunker. The Saber 6 mission? Strike?
Saber
back
2.
in Saber 2. Back in what? Taken King? I think it was Taken King. Where we had to go and stop a modified Shank. Which was a big problem back then, but now they're little chump things.
Even the big ones are still small fry.
Yeah. But this fragment was not a part of the whole, which would explain past events of like this Rasputin being an evil tyrant, but doesn't like he wasn't great. So when his network was reconnected by us back during the Array mission, this helped him, mesh everything back, be a little more sane, if you will. And his mind lab in Mars was able to reconnect to the network. And this mind lab is where his entire self and processes happen.
Right. And a big part of Warmind is us running through and clearing it out, trying to help piece Rasputin back together.
And trying to deal with this hive threat.
Right.
And plus these little back and forth between Zavala and Anna. Anna wanting to use Rasputin's Valkyrie to stop the hive. Zavala saying, yes, he may be helpful, but what would you do the moment he steps out of line? Which I think is a stupid argument.
I'm sort of inclined to disagree because Zavala...
I get it. I get it. I do get it.
Warminds are massive powerhouses. And...
Warmind.
Sorry, what?
There's only one.
Right. This... Rasputin is a massive powerhouse with its own personality, in a sense. We never really... We don't directly interact with it in the way that it seems like Anna does. But I think it's valid for Zavala to be afraid of it.
Yes. Anna may not remember, but she did teach Rasputin. So he does have a bit of a teacher-student relationship, though he is greatly smarter than her now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And was that...
But he still respects that.
And was that back in the Golden Age?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly who built Rasputin. I think it was a collaborative between all the Brays. But Anna was the one responsible for teaching him. She taught him the history of humanity, the effect of war tactics, but at the same time, classical music, stories, and all this other stuff. A very broad array of information. So we wouldn't have a Skynet situation or Cybermen or Daleks wanted to exterminate everything.
Oh yeah.
I mean, kind of still had that situation,
and
though.
which this broad sense of teaching explains his love of old classical music. In one of the adventures from Destiny 2, we have a transmission from Rasputin that is being created through music, old classical music. And
I imagine that's also the same reason for all of the sleeper nodes having classical music when you have their correct key.
Yes.
I don't know how best to explain it. He's like a extremely powerful man who has a very simple hobby.
He saw the vastness of everything that could be and is like, classical music.
He finds the pleasure in the simple things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And me personally, I was like, Rasputin, he's had, some differences. He did blow up a fire team. But, I think we can
Who's
move
never
past
been there,
that.
though? We've all had those
Yeah.
moments.
I mean, we've all fallen to our death. We've all had a buddy of ours walk in front of a rocket launcher. We've all had...
It's me. I'm Buddy.
We've all
Yeah.
been wedged between our friend Sparrow and a hard wall and just get rocketed out to the side before.
Or hit by an interceptor.
It's me.
Oh, goodness.
So, personally, I'm like, we can move past this whole Rasputin thing. And we should team up with him because the Hive, statistically, the Hive are a very deadly threat.
Oh, yeah.
How many people has Rasputin killed that we know of? A handful. After the collapse.
The Hive created efficient
Okay, not a
ways.
handful. 400 maybe.
Oh, my. But the Hive have created extremely efficient
including-
ways
I mean,
about getting rid of Guardians.
All right, we're getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. So, Warmind.
Yeah. So, where were we?
We're talking about Anna and Zavala going back and forth while we are trying to find a way to stop the Hive.
Zavala is
Right.
on his rant about centralizing all of the Guardians so that...
Zavala's being dad.
Yeah. He wants everyone centralized so that he can protect them.
Before we get too far off from the beginning, I got something to point out. First mission, or second mission, was what, Pilgrimage?
Yes.
Looks like it.
We go to this new Clovis Bray facility that was previously frozen, and we get to the door of the Rasputin Mind Lab. Just defeated waves of Hive. We open the door, and Zavala stands there.
Oh,
What are you
gosh,
doing
that's
here,
right.
How did
Guardian?
he get inside? And why
It's like-
didn't he do anything when there was Hive around?
He's just
He's
like
a Vanguard commander. His job was to kill them.
he's just like, what are you doing here, Guardian? And I'm like, I could really ask you the same question,
Yeah, like,
for real,
first of all-
but
first
you
of
don't
all,
see me passing
How
judgment.
did you get this transmission before us? We were already on Mars, which has like a 30-minute radio head time. So somehow you flew with your faster life travel 30 minutes after we heard the signal. We flew down. We fought through some Hive. We found Anna. We went forward, which if you were like a speed run on that mission, you can do it in like 10 minutes. And you get there before us, walking past all of the Hive, enemies of the city that you know can strip your light from you. And you stand inside what you consider the most deadly weapon in the solar system's door, waiting for us to walk through.
I think, in true Titan fashion, he crashed through the ceiling.
I mean, that's
Possibility,
entirely
but
possible.
I feel like Rasputin would have hit him with a with a war sat,
Yeah, he would have been shot down first, probably.
just like he did with Wei Ning.
Hmm.
Anyways, that was my one gripe.
Well, it's been so long that I completely forgotten about that, but now that's going to haunt me too.
That was my one gripe, so we can continue back. I believe we were on off-road recovery, trying to find a shard of the Traveler to bait Zol with,
Right.
like a bait star.
And it was somewhere in the last mission, Pilgrimage, in which we learned that Zol is sort of directing the graphs of Nokris on Mars, right?
mhm. Similar to how the Worm Gods guided Oryx on his path, Zol was guiding Nokris in his pursuits.
Yeah. So, yeah, we learned that Zol is on Mars, and we decide to use the Shard of the Traveler that we found in our very first mission in the EDZ to use light from that shard to try and bait Zol out, so we can defeat him.
And I feel like it is important to note at the moment that how we got this shard after defeating Taken was Rasputin hit it with a Valkyrie from orbit to free the shard from Taken shields. He helped us from the request of Anna.
Yeah. Well, Zavala was, I think, completely valid in worrying about how Rasputin would act when we first begin the Warmind campaign. Rasputin proves time and time again that he's on the side of humanity, or at least against the Hive.
Well, his original job was to protect humanity, make sure they survived. Now, he changed his protocols during the collapse to prioritize himself, which, because he believed under his own knowledge that without a war mind, humanity had a much lower chance of surviving. And as a computer, you take the higher chances.
True.
So it was a very risky gamble.
But, I mean, by computer logic, it was less risky.
Yeah. I
This
get
is
you.
true.
Lesser two evils, better chances, stuff like that. But now we have this shard. We decide to venture into the caverns of the hive to place this shard in the center of where Zol gets his offerings from his subjects. And this is the Strange Terrain mission strike, meaning the mission that was turned into a strike.
Right.
This is a theme in Warmind. So we drop this shard. Zol is baited, yes, but our guardian is immobilized by darkness, fear, I don't know. I'm going to assume darkness because Zol is very powerful. He is a worm god, though he is a lesser worm god.
God is still a god.
His power, yeah. I mean, it's comparing Hermes to Zeus. Who's going to win in a fight? But Hermes is still pretty strong against
A normal human can't be either anyway.
a mortal. Yeah.
I mean, what's a king to a god?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Anyways, our guardian is immobilized. Zol drops the cavern on us, and we shrug it off like it's nothing. And then Zol, I believe, takes the shard, because why wouldn't he? It's a shard of the Traveler, pure light. Why wouldn't you take it?
Right.
And then, most likely, with this new tithing of power, decides to begin his assault on Rasputin, very confident in his new consumption of power. I said consumption, I hear a drink. Perfect timing.
I was wondering what you were laughing about. I was like, huh.
Yeah, and
I promise that wasn't on
no worries,
purpose.
no worries.
How dare you keep hydrated?
I'm sorry. I was thirsty. That's what Zol said. Sorry, guys. I was thirsty. So Zol launched his attack on Rasputin, and this is what we see and encounter in the final mission of Warmind, Will of the Thousands, which
The mission strike.
Mission Strike, which actually is also the title of Zol, like that's his, like, I guess, godly epithet.
That's the word.
The Will of the Thousands.
It's a good word. I like that word.
But
It's a great
so
word.
we
we forgot to mention we
through,
killed Nokris.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we did that
So,
too. But I mean, Nokris is kind of forgettable.
It's Nokris.
Before
He's pretty
we-
forgettable.
Yeah. I'll decide it real quick. Before we place the shard of the Traveler down, before we place the shard as bait, we kill Nokris and use his area to place the
That's
bait.
right.
'cause
That's right. Yeah. It's been a
that's
while.
the area
I've been playing
where
the
the-
strike so much, I kind of forgot what the mission was like.
Yeah. Because that area, I believe, is where they place their tributes for Zol.
Yes, it is.
So we place our tribute, this shard, to lure him out. And then Will of the Thousand starts.
The Will of a Thousand starts, yeah. And as you can guess, our guardian is quite powerful, and with the help of the Valkyrie, an overcharged Valkyrie, we overloaded the core, thanks to the Stanley Parable AI.
Wait, really?
You didn't notice? The guy who voices the AI is the narrator in the Stanley Parable.
I haven't actually gotten around to playing the Stanley Parable. It's always looked great.
I watched a walkthrough of it like last year, and then I started playing Warmind. I'm like, huh, this is pretty similar. But I want to point out, I still love this line in Warmind, Will of a Thousand's mission. If you can hear this message, you are too close to the core. Like, yeah. Can you hear the sirens
The
during an atomic
concierge
bomb? You're too
AI
close.
was great.
That was wonderful. They do a great job on that stuff.
I do. Before we move on, I do want to take a second to acknowledge the fact that we do have 5 viewers watching now in the chat, including my homegirl Brandy. What's up, Brandy? But yeah, so
we go to fight Zol. We use the Valkyrie to defeat Zol.
a god.
And unlike most dead things, the body disappears. And this leads us into the Whisper of the Worm mini quest, where the lore tab explains that, much like Oryx, Zol didn't die, but he turned himself into a weapon, and the things we killed with this weapon would feed him, and that is the sniper rifle we use. We hadn't lost the Touch of Malice, which used Oryx's heart, and now we have the Whisper of the Worm from Zol, which was a wonderful weapon until nerfed like a few months ago.
I mean, it's still
It's still great, but it's not the powerhouse it used to be.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty badass.
I'm really upset that it got taken over by Lord of Wolves.
But I mean,
Oh, don't even tell me about that. PvP is so tough right now.
I mean, from a technical aspect, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, PvP stuff is a whole different story we can talk about later.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean, I just, I understand why they made
because
the
basically
nerf.
you
It
could
does
use it
suck
against
from
any
a
boss and destroy it in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the highest damage inducing weapon, and like, I mean, it pretty
And
much.
now Izaname's is pretty high.
it was
but it
kind
eats
of
4 bullets, and if you miss, you lose 4 bullets.
Right.
Right. However, that does mean though Izanami or Izanagi's burden does reward skill though,
more skill
because
more
you have
skill
to nail that
and
shot.
more skill.
So
you hit
so
one.
it is kind of that damage is a reward for being able to nail your shot.
It's also
and if you're a potato like me, you ain't landing those shots.
it's also Izanagi's burden was great because if you manage to complete the Whisper of the Worm heroic mission on Io, you get the catalyst
For Izaname's?
for Izanagi's burden.
That's insulting.
Yeah, you have to redo that Io
What?
mission, but on heroic mode, and it's terrible.
That's very insulting towards Whisper.
But
Wait, what?
the catalyst for Izanagi, Whisper of the Worm.
Okay, I was gonna say,
What am I talking
you get
about?
the Izanami character from
I was like, what are you
Worm.
talking
I am getting myself backwards. The Izanagi's burden catalyst increases that 4 times shot damage.
Yes, it does, yeah.
And it's kind of ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
we can talk about guns later. We know how we love the guns.
Fair.
But
The sad boy hours
getting
time
the Whisper
now.
of the Worm finishes Warmind and leads us into the second year of Destiny 2. Year 6 of Destiny in total?
I guess
This is it's
grand
year
total.
3 D2.
But at year 4 was Rise of Iron, year 5 was Vanilla, year 6 was Forsaken. 6 years. Man,
Now
6 years,
I did want to add one.
I thought Rise of Iron was year 3. I thought Rise of Iron was year
You're
3
right.
of Destiny.
We're on. So this Forsaken is
So
year 5.
this would have
Yep,
been year 5.
Okay. And
I did want to add one thing to Warmind, if I'm recalling correctly. There was a bunch of in-game clues that players decoded that eventually led to a real-life replica javelin hidden somewhere in New York.
I forgot
Yes.
about that.
And
They
I
are
just wanted to
ARG.
say, yeah, and Destiny loves their ARGs, as we saw with like the first one I remember being about is the original Siva mission,
Oh, the Transmission Crisis?
the Transmission Crisis.
Oh, I love that.
And it had an actual, and it started off with some random symbol in the mind lab, and players decoded it to a set of coordinates that led to a replica javelin.
So I gotta be honest. I wish I was this perceptive and smart because I don't understand how people
Oh
catch
my
this
gosh,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Like all the wishes and stuff, for example. But that's actually getting ahead of myself.
I've got an article pulled up here on
censor.
it, and it says the first people to find it got a replica Valkyrie.
Ooh.
There was also a cache of gold coins stating to only take one, a journal for recording visitors, and a note for the finders.
What you're saying is, if I go to New York right now, there might be gold coins left.
Boy, this was 2 years. This was a year and a half, 2 years ago. I doubt it's still
But
there.
you're saying there's a chance.
You know what? Let's do
just
it.
saying there's a chance. Hey man, the wife does want to go to New York to
There you
visit
go.
one of our really good friends, so I'll let you guys know. He likes that type of stuff, so
Geocaching
maybe
is
I'll
always
just
fun.
like convince him, like, yo, you know
Okay.
where this forest is, bro?
Geocaching is pretty great.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah. So
that's just a last thing I wanted to bring up about
yeah,
Warmind.
it was a good thing. I completely forgot about it. But now let's lead into Forsaken here, starting with one of the most fun missions of Destiny 2. Not because of the action, but because of the dialogue.
The interaction.
Yeah, the interaction, not the action. We get plenty of action, but never any interaction.
Do the thing.
And what better way to start off a new year of Destiny but through a prison riot, right?
You're just gonna make me
A
eulogize
prison
my
break.
vanguard. Okay.
If you will.
A prison break in the new year? Is that what you're going for?
No, I was going for the old show, Prison Break.
Ah,
Yeah. Anyways.
I'm not familiar.
Anyways. So, the Prison of Elders begins a prison break. I mean, it doesn't start it itself. There's like Varix opens the cells and they're like, let's riot. So, Cade and the Guardian are called by Petra to quell this riot, the flames.
There's a little bit more to like how the riot started.
Right, but we don't learn that until later on.
Yeah. I wanted to go in more depth about it later because it leads into other stuff.
Okay.
Old episode kind of thing.
That's true.
But
okay.
Our Guardian and Cade are called to the prison to stop the riots, and Cade, who doesn't always get time out of the tower, thinks this is perfect. Let's do this. And
he's always up for a little action.
He's always up for a little action. So we partner up with Cade.
They need more partnering missions. Forsaken had a few of them, and they were great.
Yes. So we fight through the prison of elders while watching Cade golden gun the place up in beautiful fashion and hitting all of the buttons. All the buttons.
Oh, him just swiping over the buttons.
That was
broke me down in laughter.
So good.
I mean, I gotta say, like, I think there's the funnest mission in the games, like, involve teaming up.
There needs to be more AI
actual NPCs, like.
Yeah.
Well, just even the cutscene, just seeing, you know, our Guardian like walking up to Petra,
landing with Cade
and stuff like that,
so
and actually
good.
being able to just being able to like replay that and see that over and over again. It's just
make a grown man cry.
Chef's kiss, you know what I'm saying?
So. Yes, after all the
but of course,
all the shooting, Petra realizes something.
Petra realizes that it's not a prison riot, it's a prison break. And we don't know, obviously, what's going on. Or at least, you know, our Guardian in the game doesn't really know what's going on. But Cade seems to have an idea. Petra basically says they've escaped. Cade's like, not today, Satan. So, in true Cade fashion, he jumps on this contraption at the top of the prison and
a warden cell block hub.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, it was like a central guard tower, but not a tower.
Yeah, he jumps onto it and just this, again, we talk about Titan stuff all the time, but this is like a quintessential hunter thing to do. He jumps on this thing, shoots it free of its free from the rafters, and just gives Petra an Ace of Spades salute as he's crashing down to the bottom of the prison.
Like he's riding the thing down.
Right, like it's a bull.
And you can just see Petra.
He lands. Right. Perfect. So he lands, and I'm assuming this is a res because we see Sundance pop up and actually pop the beam of light down, and before Cade sits up. So Cade sits up, and he kind of gets his bearings and everything like that, and the Barons show themselves. There's an entirely new breed of Fallen that we've never seen before. They're known as the Scorned Barons. It's a group of ether souped up dregs that have, with the exception of the fanatic, whose name is Fecal.
Is the Mindbender really
because
souped up on dark ether?
Yes, he was a dreg.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I mean the Mindbender.
Did have other stuff going on.
There's a few things about the Mindbender that I would love to get into, but before I totally go off the Richter and kind of get into my mind blownness about the Mindbender, but my mind bending about the Mindbender, but basically Cade sees them, and again, just being totally Cade at this point, it's like, everybody, all right, get back in your cages. And the Barons are like, nah, fam, this is not going to go the way you think it's going to go. And so this is when all the Scorn basically rush Cade, and we get to see probably, in my opinion, one of the most amazing fight sequences that we've seen.
And there's a moment in the fight scene where it's an accidental Renaissance picture.
Okay, an accidental Renaissance painting?
An accidental Renaissance painting. You know, when Cade jumps back, activates the golden gun, and you see him flying backwards, and you see the Scorn just coming towards him. If you screen cap it, it's like a Renaissance painting.
It's like the one
fingers?
reaching out to
one gun of fire trying to kill zombies.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Renaissance painting is still Renaissance, despite the meaning.
Yes.
But of course, we have to. Cade is a guardian, and you know we are immortal, but we that doesn't necessarily mean that we are always invulnerable. Excuse me. So after Cade has pretty much fought tooth and nail with these Scorn, he's pretty beat up and banged up and wounded, but he's pissed at this point. I must say it's a moment of lapsed judgment, kind of thinking, exactly. He pulls out, he calls Sundance out of Transmat and asks her to heal him. And in that split second of a moment, one gunshot rings out, or rather, more appropriately, a line rifle rings out, and you just see Sundance explode.
And the rifleman was the one who shot it. I don't know his actual name. Fallen names are very hard to pronounce.
Pirha.
Oh, they actually had actual names?
Yeah,
I didn't know
all of the Scorn had names. Fikrul, something.
Yes.
Something.
Fikrul.
Something other.
It's Fikrul, Rexus Von, Elicris, Pirha. I can't remember the other ones. There's actually a really cool mission with the Fanatic where he actually says all their names.
The interesting thing about Sundance exploding, it almost looks like the same explosion that radiates from the Traveler at the end of the Red War. I'm pretty sure they just same asset, smaller scale, but the comparison Ghost, Traveler, it's nice. It's a nice little connection.
We could definitely find some meaning there.
Yeah, it's a nice little connection.
If we wanted to talk about it,
we could talk about it later.
Right.
Yeah, a lot is happening at the moment. Our Guardian wakes up a few minutes beforehand, going what in the world did Cade just do? Let's head down to the bottom level to try to help him out. Then we run into the Scorn, and our ghost is like, this is kind of creepy. I'm hiding in your backpack for a bit. I'm giving you updates.
Isn't it, we find the traces of dark ether first. At this point, we don't know that the Scorn are Scorn.
Mm-hmm. We don't know what dark ether is either.
Ether's here, Fallen's weird, but they're gonna be weird. Something's not right.
So we travel down, we run into the Scorn. We're freaked out by them, of course. The Ravengers, the Screebs, the Abominations. We get through all of this. Our ghost senses and feels the explosion of Sundance and then freaks out. Because I think this would be the first known case of our ghost seeing or experiencing or feeling the death of another of its kin.
Is this the first time?
Why was there a laugh?
That was
well timed.
That was terrible.
My housemate's something's going on out there. I need to get soundproofing or something.
Oh my god, timing.
So what I was gonna ask is this the first time we have experienced another Guardian dying permanently by having their ghost killed first?
Yes. From a first-person point of view, this is the first time our Guardian has watched another Guardian or ghost die. We have known of other ghosts dying because of the Red War, old stories, but this is the first time our Guardian has had first-hand experience in this field.
I wanted to bring this up because we have experienced sort of permanent Guardian deaths in the form of the Savathun Song Strike.
We didn't see it happen, though. We were saddened by it. We didn't see the death.
What I was getting to is that we're in about the same proximity as we were to Sundance herself passing.
I think the difference is because we didn't feel their ghost die. We learned about
light
them.
Was siphoned.
We learned about them dying because of the crystals. I think it's
interesting.
I would say it's different.
I think it was because it was a situation where they were transformed. They were transformed into the crystals. Their light was actually converted into something completely different. So I think it's a little bit different than, let's say, a ghost being literally destroyed. And I think it's the heightened thing
that, a ghost destroyed. We have to go help the Guardian right now. Opposed to, let's try to save this Guardian and their ghost before it's too late.
I see. We have, our ghost feels that pulse of light and understands and gives us that sense of, and gives us that sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm. And this is where, after we defeat this abomination, we find a dying Cade, thanks to one Uldren Sov /corrupted by Riven, standing at a door at the end of a hallway from Cade. I believe he says he didn't feel a thing, and then we talk to Cade. and he tells us that the Vanguard dare was the best dare he had ever lost. He loved his fire team, though he never showed it.
That was the best bet I ever lost. I feel like we should also mention that before that, his last sentence to Uldren was, "How's your sister?"
Uldren asked him if he had any last words, and Cade said, "How's your sister?"
Yep.
Hey man, listen, I'm sorry, that is the hardest line in the game.
And I would like to,
stares down the barrel of your own gun. Any last words? How's your sister?
I have talked to a few people, and they did not realize Nolan North was voicing Cade during this mission.
A lot of people didn't. I remember when Bife and Bife Data, everybody kind of had come back from the summit where they had played the mission and stuff like that, and it was only maybe a week or two, or maybe 3 weeks tops, where it finally started coming out that they felt like the voice was different. But then when I played through the game after knowing that it was Nolan North, I still was like,
he did a great job.
Wow,
he did
an amazing job.
Nathan Fillion, and I would know his voice anywhere because of Castle.
Right.
If you didn't, like, if you weren't that into Fillion's career and stuff, Nolan North did a amazing job.
He absolutely did.
He captured the spirit of Cade without diminishing Fillion's performance. That was my little thing. That was my little tidbit. Let's get back to the lore. So Cade died.
Let's get back.
And we are now at his semi-funeral room with Zavala and Ikora. Ikora wants to rain down every Guardian onto the reef to hunt down Uldren and put his head on a pike.
And this is where Zavala lost every fan he had. Because his response to Ikora's rage and willingness to kind of just launch an all-out war on Uldren. At that point, I think she was just kind of like, we're gonna take on the reef, like
every hunter.
Anyway,
this is Siege.
Every Titan.
She wanted to avenge him.
Yeah, and Zavala's response is no. I screamed at my TV.
We are not the army. We are Guardians. Okay, let me come
to his
defense real quick.
Okay.
He has been the Vanguard commander since Saint 14 or Osiris. I'm not too sure on which one. I think it was Saint, because Saint was it for like a day, or Osiris was a day. Anyways, he has been commander for at least 200 years. And anyone who is at least 200 years is fairly set in their ways. And given the achievements Zavala has had, I can understand him believing that the course of action he wanted was the correct one based on 200 years of commanding and fighting.
Hey, listen, man. I respect all that, but I have 5 years of Cade being my hunter vanguard. I wasn't trying to hear none of that.
I mean, I agree with Ikora.
I mean, of course, like, I mean, from a purely narrative standpoint or from a purely character standpoint, I completely understand and understood where Zavala was coming from an emotional point, and just thinking from the perspective of my own Guardian and thinking about how I felt about the story and everything like that. I literally was like, what? Because I'm thinking like, that's all fine and good. Like, you had your 200 years and stuff like that, but this is your man's though. Like, this is your homie. Like, and dude just he shot him with his own gun. Like, what you mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, but again, I think overall, I do liked how they kind of split the Vanguard at that point, because they did kind of present a lot of interesting questions.
Yeah, and at this moment is when our Guardian speaks for the first time since vanilla D1.
Since the Black Garden?
Yeah, because they explained it as that our Guardian took an oath of silence, and then we broke it when Cade died, and saying that Uldren Sov is mine. And Zavala and Ikora knew that they couldn't stop us. So Zavala told him that he may not agree with us, but he will not stop us. And Ikora's like, of course I'm helping you. Go to the Tangled Shore. This is your best lead. Go and kill him.
I think that was Zavala's concession. he didn't want to have an all-out assault because he sees it as his responsibility to keep all of the humans safe.
Yeah.
And to keep them alive.
And the Guardian starting a war on and being connected to humanity would put a huge target on humanity if the Awoken decided to retaliate. Because they have magic.
And
True. And I mean,
Zavala saying he's not going to stop us was his concession, like, yeah, this was my fire team that they got in the way of. And they messed up.
It was kind of like...
I can't help you, but you give them help.
It's like, I can't show you my support, but I secretly support you.
Yeah.
Because he can't, like, he has to bring a unified message. That's why Ikora didn't tell anyone that they had split ideas at all. Now we have this lead from Ikora. We go to the Tangled Shore, and we find some traces of this dark ether around some dead fallen. We trace it. We find the Barons standing on a ledge, cliff, and they sent an abomination to kill us, which... clearly did not work.
Does it ever?
Yeah. Killed some more Scorn. We met Petra, and she wanted us to talk to someone who is the first. I mean, I'm not disrespecting Mithrax here, but the first.
Okay.
Gonna shoot us as soon as they see us fallen, because Mithrax was fighting us at the very beginning of the adventure.
We did start out with a bit of a hostile intentions towards Mithrax and
this
vice versa. I'll give
Fallen, who did not shoot us on sight, probably because he couldn't reach the gun, was named Spider. The Spider. And the Tangled Shore to him was his shore. He's a very 50s, 40s mafia guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's Don Corleone of the Tangled Shore,
he
okay?
He has the Mona Lisa.
No,
He's got the Starry Night hidden in his basement, and I'm pretty sure he listens to Sinatra.
Which is listen, that was an amazing piece of lore when I actually got around to reading
the Starry Night little thing with the dead orbit.
Great. I loved it. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
The Spider, in his very underground mafia style, has information we need about Uldren and his barons. You don't get anything from the Spider for free. And what our Guardian does is he promises a favor to the Spider, and a favor from a Guardian who is a very good killing machine and who is very hard at being killed is the perfect weapon to have a favor with in case a rival competitor shows up eventually. You have some newbie upstart show up in the shores. Spider will send you to kill him. Instant favor done. I mean, of course, Spider's gonna worm away. Like, this is maybes and morsels. Blah blah blah. You still owe me a favor. It's a Spider. That's how he rolls. But anyways,
the that part of the quest was where we have to do 5 bounties from the Spider, if I recall correctly.
We have to do bounties for the Spider, clean up the shore, as it were, and then he tells us information on the Barons. And this is where we go to try and hunt them down. We meet each one in the Scorned mission, but they elude us. And then we fight the Fanatic at the very end of it for a while. He escapes as well, which this mission turns into... It's not Scorned. What's the name again? Something like Hollowed Lair.
Yes.
Hollowed Lair... No, Hollowed Lair actually takes place
after... But I'm saying this mission turns into the Hollowed Lair after the Forsaken campaign, because it's a very similar beat.
Oh, yeah.
Afterwards, after we fail to kill the Scorned Barons, we then track each one of them down one at a time, killing the other until we're down to the Machinist, the Fanatic, and Uldren. We killed the Rioter, we killed the Rifleman, we killed the Mindbender, we killed the Trickster, killed the Hangman. That's all of them except the other 3. And then we track down the Machinist. She was hiding in the salvage zone, a bit closed off area where she could tinker with her stuff, because she's got a fallen walker missile thing on her back. We spend time to kill her while Uldren gets to take a shard from the Traveler in the EDZ and uses it at the Watchtower to the Dreaming City to unlock it, because he believes, thanks to Riven, that his sister is alive and guiding him on how to free her.
Mind you, this entire time that he's been hallucinating seeing her, and she's been telling him
she
stuff.
was alive.
Like this,
Just not the one he was
she
talking
was.
to.
But he thought it was completely, totally normal for his sister to tell him to eliminate and annihilate their people.
Yeah, I mean,
Just saying.
Yeah, he did kill quite a few of Reef soldiers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So while we were
he set the
busy
town on
hunting the
fire.
Barons, so Uldren was able to continue his plan, and now he's at the Watchtower. We wasted our time on the Machinist. I mean, we had to kill her anyways, but it was a diversion. Then we go to the Watchtower, trying to get Uldren and the Fanatic, and to help his leader, Fikrul the Fanatic, stalls us by fighting us to give his father. Quick backstory.
Yes.
Fikrul thinks Uldren is his father because Fikrul was gravely injured by a group of guardians who were, in a game sense, farming for materials and loot. They didn't.
No, that's
No.
not how Fikrul was wounded.
Isn't Fikrul
actually.
the one who Cade put a golden gun in the chest of?
Yeah.
And then Cade was absolutely sure he killed him.
If I remember correctly, Uldren found Fikrul almost dying, healed him thanks to Riven's wish, and then Cade shoots him up, puts him in the prison because Cade knew him as Fikrul when he shot him the first time.
No.
He was... Uldren finds Fikrul gravely injured from Cade's golden gun.
Okay.
And Uldren saying like, "Hey, why are you like this?" And then he hears a voice. Something along the line of, "Do you wish this person to be well?" And Uldren's like, "Of course I wish this person to be well," because he didn't know he was talking to Riven at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how Riven's corruption began in Uldren's mind.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So, thanks to Uldren reviving Fikrul, Fikrul calls him father. So Fikrul stalls us to help his father break open the gate entrance to the Dreaming City, which needed a little bit of light, a little bit of dark, it looked like, because he used the Shard of the Traveler and the darkness that was growing inside of himself to combine and open the gate. And from his point of view, Mara started floating down from the gate, reaching out for him. And when he reached back and blinked, suddenly there was a giant meatball with tentacles holding his arms. Which, in the Destiny world, is their version of a chimera, which looks like slightly taken thing jammed into a fallen servitor with flesh coming out from the outside.
It's
horrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
Like the Doom things with a single eyeball, but a little more machinery.
I don't actually even think it has an eye. It literally is just
the eyes and mouth.
It has a giant mouth. Yeah, it's very weird, very Riven throat like.
That is a very specific way to describe.
If you walk through Riven's throat and you see the layers of how the throat works, it's very similar to the mouth.
I'm not gonna go there.
I see.
Anyways.
Hashtag.
So Uldren gets Riven gets eaten. Sorry. Uldren gets kind of eaten by this chimera, and we arrive, kill the chimera. Uldren falls down to the floor, now free, I'm guessing, of Riven's control. It's safe to assume he's out of Riven's control now. She doesn't need him anymore. And he's like, "Okay, are you here to come get your revenge?" Our guardian picks up the ace. Petra points her gun at him. Much like when Cade died, the screen goes black. But the difference is we both hear the Ace fire and the Vestian Dynasty fire. Both of them.
Yep.
Here's my quick theory on why I believe our Guardian did not fire. The quest we went on to repair the Ace implies that the Ace was broken. And if a gun is broken, it can't fire.
That's what I was going to say. On top of that, when we're repairing the Ace, doesn't Banshee mention something about only us being able to use it? He had to configure the biometrics.
I don't remember.
Or am I remembering?
It'd be weird because if you're playing an EXO, if you're playing an EXO, where's the biometrics in that?
Serial number?
Fair point.
Here's my thing about it. Just from an audio standpoint, you can distinctly hear.
You can hear Ace,
because every gun in Destiny has its own. Every gun in Destiny has its own sound. You can hear the Ace of Spades and the Vestian Dynasty fire at the exact same time.
The sound of a gunshot and the sound of a blank. How different are they?
Damn near identical, really.
I mean, all I'm saying is that
Yes,
the trigger was pulled. I don't. I mean, we could.
Screen, we don't know. If
But
you
the
shot a blank.
semantics
I get
of
you. That's my
like
defense,
going
my
into
defense.
like the semantics of like, did the bullet actually fire? Could the gun, was it a dud shot? Like, I don't know, like, because a gun with a blank in it
Right.
will still
Yeah,
fire.
I get you.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying and stuff
this
like
is-
that. But we know Petra's gun was loaded.
My only issue with that defense, is that we still hear the ace fire.
Yeah, I get.
It-
Yeah.
We would have heard a misfire or a click as if it jammed. I would imagine otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think the gun was unusable. I just think that it was in need of
Alright,
repair
alright,
because
alright.
even when you see our guardian, pick it up, like just like the way
Now
it
you're
looks
just
in the
throwing
game,
salt on my
like,
theory here.
it. Sorry, man. Sorry. At least I didn't go like, well, let me tell you why you're wrong, son. Like, I'm just saying. I'm just providing a counter theory.
Okay,
that's
I
all.
admit it's not perfect theory.
Then again, when does this community ever have perfect theories?
Chess 7 of Volta class.
I actually have proof of that because my friend Sora accurately predicted almost the entirety of Opulence. but that was just it wasn't necessarily outright theorizing and stuff like that. He was basically just kind of like going over like different things, and I'm just like, bro.
And that is how the main campaign ends.
Yes, the main campaign of Forsaken is now over. This leads into the Last Wish raid, right? Last Wish, or is it the first cycle and then the Wish? It should be Wish and then the first cycle, right?
It's
I
first
feel
like
like
it's Last Wish, and Last Wish actually begins the cycle.
Okay, so yes, so we get a mission, a hum of starlight. That's right, where we talk to Petra and she activates the Oracle and tries to contact Mara Soft because she too believes Mara's alive. She's right, Mara is alive, and she contacts Mara through her weird outside galaxy throne room. It's cool looking. Don't know where it's at.
Mara's off on like the far edges of a different dimension or something weird, right?
Yeah, it's something really. I think it's something really weird. Quick side note: that the galaxy appearing behind Mara's throne world is the same image that we see when the Traveler's Light explodes and we see the pyramid strips. It's the same angle.
That's
Oh dang.
It's probably just
Probably.
reused assets.
video game
But
logic.
anyways, yeah, used assets probably.
Yeah.
Mara creates a bounty for Riven for guardians to come to the Dreaming City and get rid of the Ahamkara because she has used up her usefulness to Mara. This begins the Last Wish, where canonically, Clan Redeem, right? No, that was what Redeem. It was what, Carolina or something like that, right?
Sorry, you cut out for me a bit there.
It was whoever got the world's first of Last Wish is considered canonically the Guardian, the player Guardian's fire team, who killed Riven and cured her heart, which also began the curse
It was
of the Dreaming City.
Redeem.
Okay, it was Redeem. Caroline must have been the new one. Garden. It was Garden. Anyways, so this curse week, I don't think we realized it was a curse week until the first repeat.
No, so basically after they completed the raid, that's when the curse activated and the Dreaming City actually changed, and you started seeing the effects of the Taken Blights as they exist in the first week iteration of the curse, and then and that's when we got the story mission of the the Broken Courier mission. Yeah. So and then
no, it was the Corrupted, Broken Courier, and then the Oracle Engine in that order, right? No, sorry, Broken Courier, Oracle Engine, and then the Dark Monastery.
But the Corrupted did become available after Last Wish was completed as well.
It was a strike. Yeah, it was a strike to free Sadia,
yeah. Because we freed Callie and Shirochi during the raid, and then Sadia and Sadia was the last to be freed.
We freed them, yeah. But then the curse cycle went from Broken Courier, where the Hive were stealing from I would.
You actually, Vol, you actually, I think you're right, actually, because
Libraries?
technically, from a timeline perspective,
No, I have it in order. It's Corrupted, Broken Courier, Oracle Engine, Dark Monastery. Corrupted was a strike. Broken Courier,
yeah,
Oracle Engine, and Dark
yeah,
Monastery are the
yeah.
missions.
So, like, canonically, that's the order.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the Corrupted doesn't repeat itself like the other three do. So the Broken Courier, the Hive are raiding temples to get relics of the Awoken. We don't know why. Oracle Engine is they are appearing at the Oracle Engine. Petra feared they would take the Oracle, stopping her from being able to talk to Marasov. And the Dark Monastery is us going to the monastery, finding an Ascendant portal, and two wizards, hive wizards, worshipping to a very dark purple crystal. We destroy the crystal. The Ascendant plane in that area begins to collapse. We escape, and we report all of our findings to Petra. This repeats every 3 episodes, every one mission a week for 7 weeks. It's still going on technically, but 7 was like the big one. And at the end of each 3 weeks, a device called the Blind Well is charged by Guardians because it's powered by paracausal energy, which opens the Shattered Throne, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is Mara's throne world.
Yes.
Okay.
The Shattered Throne is Alucinia, but it's broken.
Yeah, it got destroyed by orcs.
Yeah, it's basically what's left of what it used to be, basically, which is why it's called the Shattered Throne.
And yeah, so you go in, and the Guardian goes into the Shattered Throne, finds Dul Inkaru, a daughter of Zavathun, who was responsible for this curse. I mean, she's not directly responsible, but she's a big
shout out
in it.
to whoever designed her, because she looked amazing.
She looked great. Yeah. You
Visuals in
kill her.
Shattered
The
Throne was
cycle
amazing.
begins to repeat again and again.
I also really kind of like that encounter.
It was a good encounter. I mean, the Abyssal Knights are always terrible. I mean, who doesn't love 3 all the cool the dark blades appearing in and out?
It's interesting doing it with the meta weapons now, though. Like, trying to, using like Izanagi's and stuff like that. I was helping a friend out with that giant.
Yep. I did a group of 3 with that with Glitch Ender.
Oh,
and that was
the
fast.
16 times damage. Yeah, I get it. Okay, so
Glitch Ender.
Every 3 weeks, not only does the Blind Well charge, but the Oracle allows us a portal to Mara, where she gives us information. And 1 week, we saw a cutscene of my favorite ghost reviving Uldren to become a guardian.
Disrespectful.
That's right.
Topic for another
Disrespectful.
Topic for another time. Another week, we see a hologram of the pyramid ships. Another week, we see Mara talking to the emissary, a former subject of hers.
That was one of the earlier weeks, just to be clear.
And
yeah,
I believe the final week, she talks about a future friend of hers.
Yes.
Which is heavily implied to be the Exo Stranger. I'm hoping we see her again later.
Be interesting to see the Exo Stranger come back.
Yeah. I would love it.
It's going to be interesting, especially with some of the lore we get in Shadowkeep.
Yeah. And after this, I believe, 7th week, Mara says she's going on this journey. She'll be away, so she won't be in contact. And that ends, kind of ends the Forsaken saga at the moment. Nothing new happened, really. The curse is still going on. Every Awoken and every normal causal person is bound to their actions of the first week. They can't escape it. And this leads us in to the Black Armory, which is the first DLC of what was Bungie's new season pass system, where they learned a lot.
So, quick question. Did Forsaken have its own season name?
Yes.
Yes. Season of...
The Outlaw.
Yeah,
I think it was just.
Okay.
This is the season of the
I think it was
Forge.
seasons 1, 2, and 3 didn't really have like a designated season code
Yeah.
name.
No, those were just those.
It was
Yeah,
with
that was
Forsaken.
1, 2, and 3 was Vanilla, Curse,
Vanilla
Warmind.
D2.
Season 4
And then
was
with
Outlaw.
Forsaken is
The
when they
cool
added.
little season names.
And then with Forsaken is when they added in the season names, which I really like.
Black Armory is Season of the Forge, where we discover, or we not really discover, the Spider asks us that he has a highly valued business associate that needs some help. And he sends us to the tower with a badge, a ticket in a way, where we meet Ada 1, a Golden Age / collapse exo who manages the Black Armory, hyper advanced for the time it was created weaponry. And she's also, since she's Ada 1, she has never been reset.
Which, given since Ada 1 was born in.
She was born during. No.
The Golden
She was
Age.
born
She was born in the Golden Age, but created during the collapse.
Exo Ada was created during the collapse.
She was human, and then she turned into a exo during the
Now,
collapse.
don't exos have a 0? Or is that
It's
considered
one.
their.
We don't know about a
their
0,
hu-
and also
okay.
1 is the currently thought first version of themselves.
Right.
Because, you have Cade 6, or Saint 14 says you don't ask about the talking to Anna, I believe. He says you don't ever wonder about the other 13, meaning that the number 1 is the
Right.
first.
I believe something happened similar in the Ace quest, where Cade 7 tells us.
Cade said 6 is the last. He doesn't like the
Yeah.
number 7. So we meet Ada. Of course, she hates Guardians because she says her founder was killed by a Guardian. This was back
The
in
Dark Age.
the bridge between the collapse and the Dark Age. But she sees that you have a badge from the Spider. She's like, "Oh, okay, fine. Welcome to the Black Armory."
Which, I think it's kind of funny that we're below this old mobster type from a race that repeatedly tries to kill us. She holds us below that at first.
I mean,
she has a very good.
She
She
do-
has a
I
very
mean-
good reason.
Yeah.
As much as she processes it as the Black Armory's founder, she essentially watched her mother and other loved ones that she knew when she was a child be murdered by Risen.
get killed by Risen.
For her, we're just we're still those people. It's
Our presence is a reminder of that.
but it's through her interactions with our guardian that make her learn that we're different now.
She begins to send us on a quest to collect the papers of her founder because they were stolen by a fallen who was named Civix, Kel's Scourge leader. So the Spider's little brother, apparently, which I thought was like, okay, he has a brother.
That's interesting. You don't really hear about that kind of family in the Fallen hierarchies.
Yeah, it's true. Not really any families. There were some brothers and stuff like that, but not really huge players when it was
Right.
siblings. So we help her. We reconnect the forges for her. We craft new Black Armory weapons. We do our best to help her and aid her, and this leads us to the Scourge of the Past raid, which happens inside the city, which I can go on like an hour-long tangent on why this is weird. Because, just this cliff notes here. Twilight Gap, the Battle of the Six Fronts, are both times the Fallen tried to invade the city, and the city's like, no. A band of Fallen land inside the walls of the city, and only 6 Guardians go to fight it. Why? You literally have the tower like at least 4 miles away.
I mean,
Maybe we don't have
the only
manpower
issue I had,
I don't know.
It's 4 miles is a long enough
I
distance.
mean,
for
I
people to
loved
throw you.
Black Armory as far as the loot we got from it and the story, and Scourge is like pretty cool raid wise. I just think
Yeah,
that
Because it raids
the
its
issue
moves.
I had with Black Armory was just that
Was it the power
No,
thing?
it was the fact that like story wise, there was really nothing. There was no lead up to it. It was like it's probably like if you look at it, it's literally the only drastically different
It's
story.
out of left
Yeah,
field.
and it makes sense when you kind of get the lore and everything like that, and you're reading like, oh, okay, I get it now and stuff like that. And it was cool. It was different and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a really interesting way to kind of introduce a new type of horde activity that they were doing, obviously with the forges and everything like that. But
I mean, the forges
but
were fun.
I just that was my
Forges were
only
fun.
thing about Black Armory. It just didn't. I didn't really feel as behind it as I did, and have felt with other
I get you, I
DLCs.
get you.
It didn't feel like any. It was part of the long term story.
Right,
that
like
they
it
were
was hard to
building
get
up,
invested
so.
in Ada, even. You know what I mean? Like, just in general. Like I still haven't done the
I mean,
last
this is the
thing.
thing they learned about this current season pass. They learned that each story needs to lead to the other.
Exactly.
To make it better. They learned this. This was their
Yeah,
learning material here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taken a while, but it's been great to see Bungie learn how to
Absolutely.
craft the game.
Mm-hmm. It's always a learning experience. You don't come into this perfect, because Destiny was an entirely different beast compared to Halo.
Oh yeah.
If we back to some lore, we stop Civics. We stop his mech servitor, which was awesome, by the way, and we begin to craft some new exotics. One in particular that was central to the founder, the
Izanagi's burden.
Izanagi's.
It's Izanagi's.
Words are hard.
It's Izanagi's burden. Izanami is it's
Izanagi's
Izanagi's burden.
It's Izanagi with a G.
But Izanagi's
Yes.
burden.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If
Yes.
A little backstory behind the name is Izanagi and Izanami are both creation gods in the Japanese Shinto mythology, I believe. And so that is why there's a pairing there between the Izanami Forge and the Izanami.
We have a comment. Bernie Art says,
Great backstory to the distant past. Yeah, the collapse. We always wanted to know what happened during the collapse.
yeah,
Like, not just what caused it and the following events, but how people dealt with it.
in game it didn't give much as far as story progression, but the lore cards gave some really deep cuts into the collapse.
Especially the Black Armory papers, I feel like, because we see a lot.
Yeah,
of
no,
the immediate history behind.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
We skimmed over a little bit during our previous episode during the collapse.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I thought the lore elements of Black Armory were great. I'm just speaking to the content itself that we were presented in game. Excuse me, it was just hard to get invested into it. I had fun with the forges and stuff like that, so I had no problem grinding out my blast furnace and going after Tadara's gaze and Kindled Orchid and stuff like that. I love my Jotun and Izanagi's burden and Le Monarch. I enjoy all those weapons.
I also want to say I feel like Le Monarch is underappreciated.
Man. I've swung gambit matches with that joint, man.
The interesting thing about Izanagi's burden is that this sniper rifle was the weapon Ada used to kill the light bearer that killed her
and his
mother.
ghost.
2 shots, 2 perfect hits, killed the man with the red ghost, or golden armor, right? Golden armor and a red ghost.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
And yeah, I mean,
I don't either.
In current tense story, Black Armory didn't give us much, but past tense story it gave us a great amount. After building Izanagi's burden, that wraps up the Black Armory and leads us into the Season of the Drifter, Joker's Wild, which brings us Gambit Prime, his new con, to collect more motes and craft them into motes of dark. I think motes of dark are not darkness, it's just a mote of light, super compressed.
Where do you get that, if I might ask?
Because it's what he does. He collects the motes of light. There was one card where he described, he was collecting these motes and condensing them down. I couldn't. I'd have to find it. It would take a while.
Okay.
But the way I read it was that he condensed motes of light to fit 1,000 into a single point. like a single size of one mote had like 1,000 in it. That's why they're different shape. But because you kill stuff and it generates motes.
And I feel like generating motes of dark would be a mote that drops from your taken enemies, which doesn't happen.
We kill Cabal, we kill Fallen, 2 races that have no darkness.
One thing I do love about motes of dark, especially when you consider that orbs of light are essentially motes of light, right?
Traveler, circle,
exactly.
motes of dark are
tetrahedrons,
triangles, and then pyramid shapes. Yeah, it's the commonality between the final shape and darkness being round and infinite, and the darkness being rigid and pointy. It was it's like design wise, it's
yeah. Cool. So during go ahead. Oh no, I was gonna say just going back to the lore, like during this season is where we kind of see that initial split of the Vanguard, and that kind of unease with a lot of Guardians. We kind of see that kind of come full circle in Joker's Wild, where you have a warlock. Yeah, you have a warlock named Honor actually actively investigating the player Guardian for possible involvement in the death of Cade 6, as well as obviously a very large distrust for the Drifter, and this creates kind of a rift, and some Guardians align with the Vanguard and some Guardians align with the Drifter, and
who did you guys side with?
Drifter.
So I actually, just because I wanted to get all the lore, I put my
Titan is my Titan is a paladin. So
I put my main, which is a hunter, with the Drifter, and my warlock with the Drifter, and I had my Titan side with the Vanguard.
Paragon till death,
basically.
Yeah.
What about?
All right.
So this creates a branching story in a way, but they both give us the same information.
It's just different points of view.
So in like an overall timeline, it's not really like in the timeline wise, the Guardian sided with the Drifter, and a different Guardian snitched on him. So that's because if you side with the Drifter, he's like, there have been some snitches around. You're not one of them. You're good. And we get more information on how the Drifter got his haul, his weird. There's concept art of the thing that he hauls. It's a giant like fossil, like that regular spiral. Those like regular spiral fossils you see. It's that, but huge. Because the concept art basically has the spiral etched into the side, in like polygon form. They have a detail, of course, afterwards. But it's just like a giant fossil that the 9 give him as like a test.
Yep.
And it going inside of it leads you to the unknown space.
Right. That's where we. Right. And all of this is from the Zur bringing us the invitations of the 9. Each of which is a different tarot card.
And yes, that was a JoJo reference.
I didn't hear it.
The first part of the Invitations of the 9 was called The World, which, I mean, you could technically say it was a tarot card, but being nerds, everyone was like, this is a JoJo's reference. Because you had Dio. I
don't say JoJo reference.
I know that one guy, Dio, is like, The World! But we can talk about this later.
Okay, so
is this what we're really going to do?
There.
We're talk about JoJo.
Let's keep to Destiny at the moment.
Yeah,
we can talk about
that's right.
I don't care. I was just being funny.
And each invitation ended up with us going with the 9, bringing us to this unknown space, which I thought it was interesting because the director that we accessed the unknown space through was in the Joker's Reckoning.
It was in
the Drifter's Reckoning.
Because you would go to his ship, you would go into the shell by flying into it. It would teleport you to the unknown space, where the reckoning takes place. But unbeknownst to the Drifter, he didn't know you were there.
Mm-hmm.
Doing that for the invitations, because the emissary wanted to show you what kind of man the Drifter was by showing you visions of the past.
Right. And we see the first vision we see is of him playing some kind of card game with
Dredgen,
one of the first
is
Dredgens.
thought to be Shin because the voice actor is the same. But also, it could also be just
That's interesting.
they just hire the actor to do a few very, very
Lines,
rough,
yeah.
gritty voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he spawns a Taken captain, I believe it was, by only pulling out a single mote, which I've got some issues there. Unless it maybe is a compressed mote, as we were talking about earlier.
Mote of light, because what are the Taken drawn to? Light. They feed on
Yeah,
it.
it's like it almost seems like it seems to act as like a beacon.
He brings
for
out
the
a small
Taken.
one. It's bait for it. Spawns the captain, and he's like, "Ooh, I can't handle this anymore."
And then the
Yeah,
9 come and save him and give him the hull.
It just teleports onto it, like attached to his ship. And he's like, "Gift? What gift?"
Which, I mean, and he's wary of it because
the 9, and plus
he should be.
And one of
the 9, and he's already got a wary nature.
In these visions is that the emissary, formerly known as Orion, was a former teammate / comrade of the Drifters. She was a Titan. Orin. It's an I. It's Orion.
Mm-hmm.
Orion. That's how you spell Orion.
Isn't
Isn't
it
it pronunciation at this point?
It's not
Orin
the main
Orion
focus
are
here.
spelled the same way. It's like Anna and Anna.
There's a O in Orion.
Orion.
No.
Orion is Orion.
It's been so long. It's getting late too.
It is getting late.
Yeah, it is. We've been at this for about an hour.
Yeah. They had what seemed to me like a relationship, kind of. I mean, I don't know if it was like friendly, a little more than friendly.
I think it was, to me, it felt like a comrades, like they worked together often enough to become friendly, and like I don't think it was any sort of
Chewie and Han
romantic relationship.
It seemed there. I mean, there seemed to be something. I don't think romantic, but definitely intimate.
Maybe it's because
I definitely feel like there was some sort of intimate place.
It's possible the Drifter
Destiny.
had up to her more than he had with anyone else.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think he was there for her when she had lost Namchi, and he obviously had a vulnerable moment with her, but then she realized, he had this super hyper shady past, and hadn't even really been entirely truthful with her about who he was, what things he had done, and stuff like that, and that kind of made her turn away from him. But of course that also, she just kind of dove headfirst into her research of the 9, which we all know that kind of led to her becoming the emissary.
She traveled to the Jovians, where she lost herself.
Yes.
And the 9 took her and turned her into the emissary as a medium for themselves to talk through, because the 9 are very
she gave themselves to the 9. She gave
like
herself to the 9.
Huge thing that I'm going to talk about later, because I can't.
There's a lot to unpack there.
One sentence.
The 9 are so massive in the Destiny world.
9. They are beings of the planets, the minds of the planets, given thought because humanity is alive. End sentence. Like, it's so hard to explain. I have to cover it in like 20 minutes.
That's too deep. It's too late. It's too late to be going into all
late.
that.
We're going to wrap up at the very end of the Joker's Wild with the 0 hour mission. It's a great mission. With a great beginning, because our buddy Mithrax kills a Fallen right in front of us.
It's great.
And it's at the old tower. We track some Fallen, kill some Fallen, and we find ourselves in the Cryptarch vault in the old tower, with a broken casing where the Outbreak Prime used to be, because one of the Fallen, Cyrix, wanted Ziva, because Ziva is very powerful. Tried to take it, and we were like, no, it's not going to happen. So we stopped her, I believe it was her, and at the very end of the mission, a Fallen skiff shoots at her, if I'm correct, and inside that skiff is Mithrax and 2 hunters. If I remember correctly, yeah.
Sounds about right.
It's a team of guardians with a Mithrax, the Fallen, who we saved.
No, I don't think it's 2 hunters. I think it's a hunter and a warlock.
And
I
and
I think it's a proper fire team, so to speak.
Who we saved back in the Titan chain adventure after the Red War. Canonically, we saved him and not killed him. Who then at the very end of the at the very end
the quest
of the
gave the option
round,
to kill him
found
otherwise. But
the House of Light, a fallen house on friendly terms with the city. I mean, not the city itself, just guardians.
And Mithrax is supposedly the Kell of the House of Light now.
So he would be
correct?
automatically the Kell.
And, well, the important thing about the end of the 0 Hour mission is that the gun we pick up from Cyrix is no longer Outbreak Prime, but Outbreak Perfected. Meaning Siva essentially kept improving the gun while it was still locked away in the vault.
Once you give it a command, it will not stop until the command is fulfilled, unless given new orders. Which would be interesting. What did Ziva define as the perfect gun? How does coding like that?
I imagine with the word perfected, wasn't Ziva programmed with the knowledge of?
Ziva is basically
Ziva was programmed with the knowledge of famous gunsmiths. Excuse me.
Technology that you code, and it'll do exactly as you code. Any mistakes you put into the code is your fault, not Ziva's, because Ziva is perfect. As far as perfect can go. I mean, it went bad during the second Ziva crisis and the first one. But with that, we're going to close this episode of Now You Know Destiny. Thank you for joining us on this extra long episode and a few housekeeping things. You can listen to this podcast after the live stream at any streaming service, iTunes, Podbean, Google Play, or if you want to follow us on our regular social medias, you have Did You Know Destiny at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or if you want to follow our personal accounts, you have LostAngelofHavik on Twitter. Are you on Instagram as well?
Yes. So it's LostAngel2K5 on each platform.
And since our last episode, I have created my own VulshokBersrker on Twitter. And Frog, do you have any links that you would like to plug?
Yes, I'm currently on Twitter and Twitch as Ice Make Golem. But I'm not very active yet.
Golem, yeah. Not like Lord of the Rings, but like a golem of machinery. The Pokemon.
All right, just followed you.
All right, thank you for joining us once again. We will see you next time.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in.